Getting a shredded anime physique may seem complicated, but it's actually simpler than you think. And in this video, I'm going to explain how you can do so in 5 levels, all the way from the most basic fundamentals to the more advanced. And even if you think you know how to achieve an anime physique, there might be 1 or 2 tips in this video that you're probably missing. So let's get right into the basics, starting with level 1. So here's how to know if this is where you're at. You see a cool shredded anime character on screen and immediately think, that's me. That's literally me. I want to be like that guy. Then you start going to the gym, doing random ass workouts, and lifting whatever you can carry. Not much structure, but hey, at least you're consistent. And for a lot of you guys out there, this is a great start to getting that shredded anime physique. But unfortunately, just going to the gym and working out isn't enough. I see this a lot as well. People who go to the gym every single day but change nothing else about their lifestyle. And then they wonder why they're making no progress. Sure, you might be building some muscle, but getting shredded is gonna be hella slow. And if you're not at level 1 yet, my friend, what are you doing? Click on literally any video on my channel. Except this one, we don't talk about this one. But if you are here at level 1, which most of you will be, then you need to get to level 2 as soon as possible. At level 2, this is where you take the pledge to commit to the anime physique and change up your lifestyle, which also means more self-discipline and less self-indulgence. One big mistake that I made was thinking that lifting would solve all of my problems. Sure, it did numb the pain of getting rejected by a girl for the 10th time in a row that day, but it did not counter me stuffing my face with pepperoni pizza pops and barbecue chicken taquitos. And yes, I was putting on muscle, but only as much as processed junk food would allow me. Not only that, but I honestly thought that working out every day would burn 1,000 calories per hour, which I was very disappointed to find out it does not. I was just unintentionally bulking up. Case in point, if you want to get shredded, you want to be building muscle and burning fat at the same time, which of course lies in the food we eat. But now it begs the question, how do you eat to get shredded? What are the proper macros to build as much muscle as possible? How many calories should I be eating? And what foods should I be eating? So let's tackle it one at a time, starting with the macros. When it comes to fats and carbs, I really don't think it matters, especially if you're just starting out at level 2. When you're just starting out, it's best not to overcomplicate what you're eating. Just get an even balance of both fats and carbs. You should honestly be fine majority of the time. But when it comes to the third and probably most important macronutrient, protein, that's where we need to pay a little bit more attention. Now, this topic is wildly discussed across the internet, but I think there is a common consensus. If you want to build as much muscle as possible, the ideal amount of protein is this: 0.8 grams to 1 gram of protein per pound of goal body weight. Meaning if your goal is to be 165 pounds, you should be having 132 to 165 grams of protein. Anything below that is fine, but not optimal. And anything above that is fine still, but maybe a little overkill. So now we know the protein. How many calories do we need to eat? Well, it depends on which of these 3 categories you fall into. Category 1, you're built like E-rank Sungjin Woo. If you fall into here, then your primary goal should be to pack on as much muscle as possible. Thus, you need to be eating more calories than you burn throughout the day, aka bulking. On a typical bulk, I would go no more than 300 calories surplus, just to mitigate the amount of fat you could gain. Category 2, you're built like Majin Buu. If you're in this category, you need to cut weight, my friend, especially if you're built like Majin Buu. Dude's a balloon. Dude's a big ball. He's got his own gravitational pull. Doesn't matter how much muscle you're gonna have, it's not gonna matter if it's covered in layers and layers of fat. So go with a 300, 500, or even 700 calorie deficit. And you'll go from Majin Buu to Kid Buu. Category 3, you're built like me from 6 years ago. If you're like me, you grew up as a skinny, fat Asian guy. Maybe some of you weren't born Asian guys. The best thing you can do here is not bulk or cut, but eat at maintenance. That way you can use the stored fat on your body as energy to build muscle and recomp your body slowly. So now you know how much you need to eat, but what foods should you be eating? Well, to be honest, you can technically eat anything. As long as your macros are being met, you're staying within your calorie budget, you're going to achieve your goals, even if you decide to eat an ice cream or 2 every day. In fact, this method is the same one that I use in my Shonen shredding system. In this program, I designed 12 weeks of meal plans for every calorie range that I could think of that allows you to achieve an anime level physique while still eating whatever you want. No longer do you have to choke down dry, bland chicken and rice. Everything in the plan is done for you, so all you need to do is follow along. So if you want to check it out, click the link in the description. And once you have your diet sorted, you're on your way to get shredded. And you could probably do really well with a good grasp of level 2. But if you really want to step it up and unlock those gains, then level 3 is where it's at. Here, we take it back to training, because what good is a shredded physique without the muscles? Now, I'm sure most of you are already consistently working out at the gym, but even if you train every day, you might not be making progress. And this is probably one of the biggest mistakes I made in my fitness journey. I was training every day, my diet was decent, and I was making okay progress, but it was slower than I thought it should be, and I didn't know why. Which is why if we want to start leveling up in real life, we need to start thinking like an anime character. I think it's safe to say when a character takes something seriously, careful planning and consideration goes into the training. So that's exactly what we need to do if we're hoping to train smarter. And the first thing you need to sort out is organizing your routine. When I first started training, my routines were all over the place. I was basically working out based on vibes, whatever I was feeling in the day. What I should have done instead, if I wanted to create a good routine that allowed me to put on as much muscle as possible, this is exactly the method I would use to do it. First, I would pick a heavy compound movement that involves multiple muscle groups. Now, when I say heavy, I mean something that'll bring you to failure at 8 to 10 reps. Since this is the first exercise, you'll want to pick a movement that targets a muscle you want to focus on the most. Next, I would pick another heavy compound that focuses on a different set of muscle groups. For example, if I did an upper body day and my first exercise was pull-ups, I would probably want to do dips next. Or if I'm doing a pull day, I would want to do rows after pull-ups. As for the next exercise, I would definitely go with another compound, but a little lighter, something that can get me to 12 to 15 reps. Including high rep training is great for hypertrophy, but if you wanted to, you could swap this exercise with an isolation movement. And finally, if you didn't do an isolation for the third exercise, I would place it right here, generally focusing on smaller muscle groups like the shoulders, the quads, or the biceps. Now at this point, you could add 1 or 2 light compound movements or more isolation if you want to, but I think 4 exercises is a good place to be in terms of good volume and managing fatigue. But what's more important is what you do between sets. Another big mistake with my routines is that I was super impatient. I wanted to get my workout done and over with, so I would take like 30 seconds and then jump back into the set. You can imagine I couldn't perform properly, my muscles were weaker, and my risk of injury went up. So how long should you be resting between sets? Well, here's exactly how to know. First check, are you out of breath? You should probably be resting longer. Second check, do you feel super weak that you could only do like 5 reps? You should probably be resting longer. Third check, do your muscles burn with the fury of 1,000 suns? You should probably rest longer unless you're training for endurance. This is my personal rule of thumb when it comes to rest times, but try experimenting with 1, 2, 3 minutes or even 5 minutes and see what works best for you for whichever exercises. But of course, none of this is going to matter. All of these tips will go down the toilet if you don't fix this last thing. I'm sure some of you guys heard this a million times, but some of you need to hear it again. If this is what a set looks like to you every day, then my friend, you are not getting shredded. Not only should you be pushing yourself to the point where you could barely hit the last rep, but you need to start making your workouts harder than last time. If you're able to do at least 15 reps of an exercise, you should probably pick a harder progression. On the contrary, if you're still at like 8 to 10 reps or less, then you should probably stick with that until you can get the reps up and get stronger. The most important thing to remember though is that progression is not always going to be linear. Some days you're going to feel like S rank Sungjin Woo. Other days you're going to feel like E rank. Then you're going to be back to A rank Sungjin Woo and then back to C rank and then suddenly back to S rank. So long as you're pushing yourself and you know you're pushing yourself close to that limit, you're going to be making gains, you're going to be building muscle, and you are going to get absolutely shredded. Now, if you thought level 3 was serious, level 4 is where we get seriouser. We are min-maxing getting shredded here. So we gotta take it up a notch. And just like a video game, going up levels means it's going to be more difficult. Because at level 4, it's a lot harder for most people to do consistently, but if you do get here, your gains are going to skyrocket. Now remember when I said in level 2 that you can technically eat anything? That is true, but there are pros and cons. A big pro, it's very sustainable for 90% of you. Being able to eat the foods you love while still losing fat is great. Helps you to understand what you put into your body and develops a good relationship with food. A big con though is that it can be annoying to track every single calorie. And most importantly, some of you eat way more junk than necessary because, well, the food is so damn tasty. But now you can't hit your protein goals because you can't eat anymore. You're super hungry all the time, or you have to go over your calorie budget just to meet your protein. And if you're like extra hungry, you're probably going to go over your calorie budget. Plus, depending on the foods you eat, it might hinder your performance in the gym, but worst of all, make you hungrier. So what foods should you eat at level 4 in order to fuel your gains properly? In my opinion, the best food groups for this is meat, eggs, fish, dairy, fruits, vegetables. You get 6. You get 6 and only 6. 6. If you just stick to these 6 and you cut out all of the junk, I guarantee that you are going to be losing fat. Sure, maybe you'll miss out on the cake and ice cream, but at least you're not going to be hungry at the end of the day. And if you must, treating yourself once a week isn't going to kill you. Now, cutting out junk is fantastic, but if there's one thing that you should be adding to your diet to get shredded, it would be this. Not only is it going to get you bigger and stronger muscles, but it's probably one of the most researched white powders known to man. And no, it's not cocaine, it's creatine monohydrate. But some people have no idea how to use it, so here's a quick rundown. Basically, creatine draws water to muscles, makes them bigger, and generates more ATP, which is energy for your muscles. But to do so, your muscles need to be saturated with that creatine. So when you first start taking it, you need to go through a loading phase of 3 weeks, which is taking 5 grams a day, every single day. And after the 3 weeks are done, your muscles are gonna be saturated and you're gonna feel the difference. Now, this is amazing for muscle growth, but it alone isn't gonna get you shredded. Don't forget, we still need a low enough body fat percentage. And the best thing for that at level 4 is very simple to do, but it's hard to do every day. And it's not for the reason you think. The problem with trying to lose fat in the modern day is that we live in a society where movement is rare. People working in cubicles all day or sitting at their desks playing video games. So how can we move our bodies every single day to keep the calorie burn high and make losing fat as easy as possible? You guys might think it's working out, but that doesn't burn that many calories. And cardio like running or HIIT training is not going to do it either. The best thing you can do to maximize fat burning is walking. Not only is this low impact, meaning you can do it every day, but at sufficient enough volumes, it can actually burn a significant amount of calories. The best goal for most people is hitting that 10,000 steps a day, but that can be tricky when all you do is sit at a desk. So here's a couple tricks that I use to guarantee 10,000 steps plus while working a 9 to 5. First, always take the stairs. I don't care if it's 20 floors, elevators are for chumps. Second, pacing is king. If you have time at work, take a walk in the hall every 30 minutes for like a couple minutes at a time. Or you could pace around your room like a maniac. Third, park far away always. Forces you to walk more wherever you need to go. And fourth, walk after you eat. Most people get like an hour for lunch, so spend 30 minutes of it eating and then the rest of the 30 minutes walking. Typically in 30 minutes, I'll get like 3,000 steps in. Doing all of these level 4 tasks may seem daunting, but mastery at this level will certainly make you a beast. But level 4 is nowhere close to level 5, because this is the point where we only have one task left, but it's probably the most difficult task in the world. In fact, this is so difficult, only 50% of people in this generation can do it. It's the same reason why 2 groups in this study lost the same amount of weight, but one group had significantly less fat loss and significantly less muscle gain. I'm sure some of you guys are a self-proclaimed level 4. You're training hard, you get 10K steps a day, and your diet is pretty good. But maybe some of you also like to play games or scroll on your phone. It's only 1 hour, you tell yourself. But then 1 hour turns to 2, which turns to 4, which turns to, oh no, it's 3 a.m. I have to wake up in 3.5 hours. And some of you guys might be watching this on your phone at 3 a.m. Shame on you. If that's you, you have to leave a comment. There's no turning back. You've been caught. Leave a comment of shame. Shame, shame. The point is, you can train as hard as humanly possible, but if you don't rest hard, your gains will never come and getting shredded is gonna be an uphill battle. So for the love of God, get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every single night, or at least 6 out of 7 nights, if you must. Try not to waste your hours awake grinding to diamond, because we both know you're not gonna get there. And I understand the journey to getting shredded is gonna be difficult, but what if there was a way to change your mindset and force your brain to actually crave working out? Well, that's something that I learned to do for myself, and if you want to learn how to do it as well, check out this video right here.